Honorable members, and I want the public to see, what we are going to do today is on taxation, to raise money to finance a budget. Which budget will be used for making hospitals, the roads that we are talking about, all those kind of things. But we voted 529 members of parliament here, and they are not here. Honorable members, I request whoever is entering inside, please put your check-in. Check-in. I want you to check in so that the people out there know which people are in this house to legislate for them.
Most of the campaigns I have attended, the chairman of NRM, Mr. Yoweri Tebuhaburwa, has consistently said that NRM MPs are voting machines. He actually said even if they come here and sleep, but wake up and vote. So the procedural issue I'm raising, Madam Speaker, if he did not make you aware that his MPs are purposes of voting, that when you're at a voting stage, they can pick borders and run here and vote.
I have never heard that. I'm happy I'm hearing it from you today, that they are voting machines, but I've never heard it from the president. But all we need is attendance in the house. They are voted to come and do representation, legislation, appropriation in this house. How come for you you're in the house every day? I've never seen you missing in the house.
Madam Speaker, for me, I am not a voting machine. That's why I must stay here and process before voting. But the chairman of the party said...
Honorable members, for me, I want members in the house. Whether they come and vote, sleep, whichever, I want the members in the house. Public notice on the deterioration of the Karuma Bridge. And effective today, the access to the bridge will be restricted to only passenger vehicles carrying about 28 people. Alternative routes have been provided for to effect the road users, and of course you know what it comes with, the implication of the cost, the delays, and all that. The road is being worked on, and I want to urge them to expedite the working on the road. Honorable members, few weeks ago and last week we also talked about the disaster that is happening in most of the areas. It is worse in Kenya, and really we condone with our brothers and sisters in Kenya on what is happening in Kenya, and the same is likely to come over. And I also asked the Minister of Disaster to give us information on what action she has taken, especially on the areas that were talked about last week. I was a little mean by mentioning my own constituency, and we'll get a feedback from the Minister on how far she has gone with it, and how ready are we as Ugandans. The fact that it is happening in Kenya, in Tanzania, in everywhere, how ready are we as Ugandans to mitigate the disaster that is happening in the country? How are we going to handle it? So it's a very serious matter. It's not anything for joking this time round. We need to take an action on that.
Right, Honourable Speaker, you've talked about the broken bridge of Karuma. In the same vein, we have
It is
a
actually
bridge
cracked bridge.
We have a bridge on River Mayanja that connects Nakaseke to Mitiana. It has already carved in, and vehicles are no longer passing. So, Right Honourable Speaker, I think I should also consider the people of Nakaseke. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I want to add on what Honorable Rutamaguzi has just submitted. Madam Speaker, the road he's been talking about is the road coming all the way from Kanoni, Mitiana, Busunju, then to that bridge. It is not only that bridge. The bridge on Muchiragwe is caved in. The bridge on Kokatimba on the same road is not there. Madam Speaker, what is the problem with this road and those bridges? The problem is the heavy traffic coupled with heavy rains. As I'm talking now, I was there on Sunday. All the trucks cannot pass there, and there's no alternative road. Even the alternative roads, the heavy trucks have broken all of them. We talked to UNRA. I wrote to UNRA, actually, Madam Speaker. The answer they gave me is that right now, they don't have the culverts to repair those areas. Madam Speaker, you have urged UNRA to expedite working on Karuma. But these roads here also, Madam Speaker, are so important as Karuma, I would say. I would think that UNRA right now should come out and try to repair these roads. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, as you did say in your communication, climate change is real and it's hitting us hard. When we saw the devastating effects in far-off countries like Dubai, some people thought it's quite far, but now it is right at our doorstep. Torrential downpours have caused devastating effects next door here in Kenya. It's reported that over 200 people have been confirmed dead because of the heavy flooding. About 100 are missing. 170,000 are displaced. And the situation is going to get worse. Here in Uganda, the rains are pounding, and the Met authorities have told us it's only going to get worse, Right Honourable Speaker. As colleagues are sharing, bridges are breaking, roads are caving in, and the situation is going to get a lot more problematic, Right Honourable Speaker. As colleagues are saying that we need to find a separate budget for disaster preparedness, I want to suggest that even before we move in that direction, let's set a proper foundation. Firstly, with the law, and I want to quote the Constitution verbatim, Right Honourable Speaker. Article 249 of our Constitution talks about Disaster Preparedness and Management Commission. I request the Minister of State for Disaster Preparedness to just pay attention to this issue so that she can respond to this House. 1, there shall be a Disaster Preparedness and Management Commission for Uganda to deal with both natural and man-made disasters. That's 249.1. 249.2. Parliament shall, for the purposes of this article, prescribe the composition, functions, and procedure for implementation of the functions of the Commission. Government, where is the Commission? Because this is the law that we passed. About 2018, I was still in the media, but I was following the happenings here in Parliament. Government was mooting the idea of a disaster management bill, but it did not see the light of day. It didn't come through. Is government still interested in this? Maybe we should bring it as a private member's bill so that we have a proper foundation, we get to plan. Because you see, if you don't plan, and then we give you money, what are you going to put it to use towards? So it's important that we plan. We need this commission in place because legally it's covered. We need that bill because it will help us Right now, we want to deal with the short-term issues, which are important, like the Honorable Kaya was mentioning, desilting and all of that. That's important, and it is short-term. But we need to deal with the long-term. So that now, in a few months down the road, we are not here again trying to run around to deal with the short-term issues. Can we plan appropriately? Let's have this commission in place. Let the bill be brought. And then we can discuss the idea of giving you money when we know the docket to which exactly it's going. And then we hold you accountable. It's important. We give you money. And then we task you to put that money to very good use. Yes, Right Honourable.
Maybe before you continue, you could find out from government, could there be a problem with having that commission in place? Because it has come out several times. So we need to understand from government, could there be a problem? Why are we not having a commission in place? It's a constitutional requirement. Honorable Board, that's a question from Lop.
Very important, because me I was saying bring it because it's legally covered in our constitution, Article 249. But if you don't want it in place, then explain to us why not, and then the law should change, because otherwise why should we have redundant articles in our constitution? The reason it was provided for is because the makers of the law then thought it important, and it is important, so that colleagues will stop having these challenges and get to plan properly. Because finally, the water levels of Lake Victoria are going higher every day. I'm sure, Minister, you've taken note of that. So my worry is what's happening in Kenya could very potentially happen here in Uganda. How ready are we? That's important. We need you to point us in that direction, because maybe Kenya did not think it could ever happen, but it has happened, and it could very well happen here in Uganda too. How ready are we to avert such a situation? It's important that government talks to us about this. Thank you, Right Honourable.
Thank you. Can we hear from disaster, then government?
Right Honourable Speaker and members. First of all, I would like to note that we do have a disaster risk management plan that was approved in Cabinet in July 2022, and it was launched in September 2022 and presented in this House in November 2022. Right Honourable Speaker, I associate myself with the concerns of members. And as a ministry, we are trying our best to do what we can with the limited resources we have. Right Honourable Speaker, as you may be aware, on the 1st of March 2024, the Uganda National Meteorological Authority released the March to May 2024 seasonal rainfall outlook over Uganda and its implications. The March to May 2024 indicated a high chance of near normal to above normal rainfall, resulting into episodic flash floods, events, and landslides in localized areas that would receive heavy downpours. Right Honourable Speaker, we have already witnessed flooding incidents in districts including Butaleja, Aleptong, Dokolo, Nakapiripirit, Nabelatuk, Bukedia, Bulambuli, whereas landslides were reported in Kasese, Kisoro, Bulambuli, Sironko, Bududa, Munyangabo districts. Some actually claimed lives. We lost 7 people. Recently, Uganda National Meteorological Authority released a 10-day rainfall forecast from 1st to 10th of May 2024, which indicates a continuation of wet conditions over most parts of the country. The heavy to very heavy rainfall events were expected over southwestern in some of the areas in Kigezi and Greater Bushenyi districts. In the northeastern, in districts of Karamoja and Teso sub-regions and neighboring Acholi sub-regions. Other areas expected to receive enhanced rainfalls are in mid-western sub-region in the districts of Masindi, Kiriandongo, Kagadi, Kabarole, and Elgon Islands. The 10-day rainfall forecast by Uganda Meteorological Authority indicates that very heavy rainfall events are expected to cause potential hazards, such as flash floods, debris flows, landslides. In addition, waterlogging, contamination of water sources due to increased surface runoff into such sources, and disruption of traffic flows along transportation routes, as some bridges may be washed away or collapse. An example are the bridges you've already mentioned earlier. Moreover, these heavy rainfalls are expected to damage critical infrastructure like schools.
It is a maiden speech. I know her report should have been uploaded, but it is a maiden speech, and she has just been
But I have
writing
not
there.
raised the procedure. Madam, you are ruling.
Okay, please raise it.
See, the response the minister is giving, apart from being written, governed under our rules, if you're going to give a statement, is a response to confirm everything that has been said. The questions that have been asked by members require an answer, not just an illustration of how bad things will be. The procedure issue I'm raising, Madam Speaker, is whether if the minister thinks that it's important to give a statement like that, should not be given an opportunity to do so, so that we engage with itself under the rules.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I remember in 2021, the then Deputy Speaker, who is now the current Speaker, did direct government on the floor here, those who were here and recall so well, did direct government to actually establish the Disaster Management Commission as provided for in the Constitution. It was in 2021. And I recall, Right Honourable Speaker, by then you were Deputy Speaker, there was an undertaking from the executive that they would come back in the House and report that the commission had been established. Right Honourable Speaker, are we proceeding well when we continuously raise the same issue and there is actually no response from government?
Government, let's first say on the commission.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. My brother Sumani has kind of put me in a corner on that. It's 29 years since the promulgation of the Constitution, and this commission has not been put in place. The unfortunate bit is that the voices are coming up at a time when we are rationalizing.
Richard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as you've considered working on Karuma Bridge, but there are quite many bridges that had collapsed. And these bridges that are collapsed had been done. When you look at Masaka Bridge, the new bridge collapsed and it left the old one functioning. So we need to go deep.
The workmanship.
The workmanship, to see that those who make the bridge, we need them to be good, we need them to be technical enough so that what they do is good and can last for a long time.
Thank you.
Please.
Right Honourable, thank you. On your communication about Karuma, first I would like to ask government to provide reliable ferry as an alternative from the Masindi port to Congo.
To Congo.
Because the ferry that has been there in the past has not, first of all, it is not reliable and it has very limited carrying capacity. Now with the increase in traffic, and especially of the heavy trucks and the passenger vehicles, that ferry, right now it's broken, it's not working. But if it is possible, an emergency ferry can be got from somewhere else to come to that place. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, there is something that I think government had underlooked when we were constructing that dam, the new dam at Karumba. There is reasonable suspicion that should be subjected to studies, that the feasibility study of that dam did not take concern of the impact on the bridge itself. The bridge deteriorated faster than it was thought, and while this was brought to the attention of government in the 10th Parliament, the status of that bridge, no action was took place since then. And these stoppages came very abruptly, and it has disorganized the communities across. I know that the impact eventually will be that goods and services will be more expensive to the people. It will limit trade, and I don't know in this already struggling economy how it will affect the people crossing the Nile. So the most feasible solution would be that commitment that the ferry is repaired urgently and another one is added. Where possible, even the time frame, because these ferries operate from 7 to 7. If it is possible, we need the time frame to be the frequency and also the time to be enlarged. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Government Chief Whip, you will need to take that up seriously, because you may not be able to reach a jury. If you may not be able to. Laibi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and especially on your communication in as far as Karuma Bridge is concerned. But there are two things, right, Honorable Speaker. One, last year when I raised this matter, the Honorable Katumba Omala made a commitment that government would embark on carrying out an assessment and doing a design for a new bridge. Right, Honorable Speaker, as they embarked on rectifying the defects they have detected, it would be good for us to get to understand from the Honorable Katumba Omala how far they have gone in as far as designing the new bridge is concerned. Can we get to understand when they would start working on the new bridge? Because what they're doing is a temporary measure. Number two, Right Honorable Speaker, last year when we went to, there was an event next to Karumba Dam where government has put in resources to extend clean water from the Nile to Gulu. And when we went for the commissioning, we got to know that there is actually a bridge that was built as part of the hydropower project. There is a bridge built that connects to the other side of the Nile. I would like to know, because right now as I speak, Right Honorable Speaker, UNRWA decided to provide an alternative route for heavy trucks and buses. And that alternative route puts an additional burden on the road users by over 100 kilometers. The question I'm trying to put to get to understand from government is whether the other bridge that was built as part of the hydropower project can be used as an alternative route that would reduce that additional burden on the road users. I would really need to understand from the Minister of Works the strength of the other bridge, whether it can also be used as an alternative. Because what I see from what is being done, Right Honorable Speaker, much as UNRWA is saying heavy trucks will use the other route, there is a possibility from the magnitude of the work, there is a possibility that even light vehicles would have to take an alternative route. Would it not be okay for us to understand whether the other bridge can as well be used? Thank you very much.
Presidential Affairs.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. We are so grateful that government is going to work on that bridge because it is life-threatening. But Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, we would love that the Minister for Works brings a statement on what exactly is going to be done. Yesterday, I crossed the bridge because I traveled from Adjumani yesterday. We were kept there for more than 1 hour, and no one gave us adequate information on what exactly was being done. And this question is being asked daily. So if the minister could come here and give us that update, that would be okay. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues.
I actually saw the minister at the locus. Okay. The minister is in that area. But one can come and give us a statement when we resume the House.
Thank you. Secondly, Right Honourable Speaker, one of the alternative routes we are thinking about is via Masindi, where we have our park. The last time I crossed via that, we were charged per person. Therefore, in my car, we were 4, all of us were charged. Now that our buses may also be crossing, we want to know whether those charges will still remain. Because we are passing via a tourism route, and normally we are charged per person. Yes, information?
Thank you very much, Honourable.
Eh,
Right Honourable Speaker.
my chair.
Right Honourable Speaker. I was reading an advert by UA where they communicated information to do with vehicles that are going to pass through the park. But what touched me most was the fact that they limited the time. They said that vehicles must pass there only during day. Most of the heavy vehicles normally travel at night. So I really want to think it is going to increase the cost further if vehicles cannot travel within the time that has been, they normally move. Because they said from 7 to 7. That implies at night, goods vehicles can't move, the traders can't move, the buses can't move during that night. That's the information I wanted to give you.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I will propose that the issues of the cost to be incurred be part of the brief being brought by the Minister, so that we explain to our companies, because this is all going to affect the population, not only in the north, but to the neighborhood that is in South Sudan. Thank you.
But even the transporter should not take advantage of this kind of scenario, because it is not created by anybody. So increasing costs will not be the best thing for our people. And as I said before, and Honorable Patrick has also said, that it is going to increase the cost, but that should be avoided. And UNRWA should do its work as fast as possible to ensure that we restore the bridge.
But there are two issues that the people of West Nile and Northern region are uncomfortable about. The first is the restrictions on the travel hours from 7 to 7. The second is the issue of the escalation of the travel charges, especially by the buses. For example, the proposed bus fare for Obongi to Kampala is going to double from 50,000 to 100,000, which is very, very prohibitive. Madam Speaker, the second issue is related to a time bomb we are sitting on, which is the Karuma Bridge, that recurrently and every year has been cut off. And as we speak now, there are already fears that as the rains intensify, the bridge is going to be cut off. And that means the people of West Nile are going to be cut off. The Laropi Bridge would have been an alternative gateway to West Nile. Madam Speaker, this Parliament passed a loan from the African Development Bank in the 10th Parliament. To date, the people of West Nile have not gotten an update on what is happening. Where is the money? When is the bridge construction project on Laropi starting? The Minister, we pray, when coming to provide an update, will be able to provide an update on the status of procurement of works for construction of Laropi Bridge as an alternative gateway to West Nile. I submit.
Thank you.
And Madam Speaker, it is very risky. And I would think that the government need to divert all the roads. They should not leave only the small car to pass via there, because you don't know the magnitude and the capacity of the cracks. And that is why we need the minister to come and explain to us the magnitude of the cracks for us to be safe. Otherwise, we are risking the lives of the passengers passing via there, and that will be a very big shock to the country. And then, Madam Speaker, too, I have a sub-county which has been cut off by the river. Community are not able to access the medical services. Children are not able to access the school. Councillors, when they are going for a council meeting, they have to swim. It is very difficult for them to cross because the road has been blocked, and that place needs a real bridge. Women are not able to access the market, and so this has become a very big problem. So government need to do an assessment thoroughly. I wrote a letter to the ministry. Up to now, I've not got a feedback.
The issue Honorable Dur raised on increasing the ferry, getting another ferry and increasing on what is there, and the timing is very, very important, because it will help us for people going to Lango region, even going to Acholi, because you just go, when you reach Congo, you now branch back to the main road and go to Kamdin and continue to Gulu. From Kamdin, you can also go to West Nile. So that would be one of the best solutions, so that you're not limited, because you're interfering with the animals. They are telling you 7 to 7, don't move in the night. It is for your own safety. You're interfering with animal rights. Yes, Honorable Fedra.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I again rise on your communication in regard to the upcoming weather conditions that are within this country. We are going to be faced with the harsh rains and the Karuma Bridge reconstruction. Allow me make these 3 observations. 1, Karuma Bridge and Park are the route to West Nile, which I use very often. And indeed, at this point, I want to give thanks to government, that our government in the past few years comes up with alternatives as far as the bridge infrastructure in this country is concerned. And if ministry now makes a decision that Karuma is stopped for large vehicles and an alternative goes through the park, this is coming from the fact that a new bridge has just been constructed across River Nile, that is in Para. And we are glad that this has been opened. However, Madam Speaker, as alluded earlier on, Pakwachi Bridge connection to Gulu will be faced with these heavy rains once River Tangi floods again. Why am I saying so? The junction between entry to Noya Road going to Gulu will automatically be cut off. We've experienced this earlier on before, and the works done on Noya Road is not as to the quality expected when these rains come. So my fear is, will the people of Gulu not be cut off if this alternative route is used for them in the event that the rains come? The second issue is, I'm glad to the bus companies we have in Northern Region. The fares outside, Nile Star has not increased any fare to use the alternative route. And this is crucial for us. And I want to urge the bus companies within that they shouldn't take advantage of this calamity that has befallen on Karuma, so that the travelers can be able to travel through very well.
The issue of the heavy rains, it's cutting across, and it is true that those who are not prepared for these rains will suffer the consequence. We may see more serious issues than even the bridges we're talking about. Already, some gardens are being flooded, and there will be a disaster in terms of crop failure in the short term. So we need to prepare.
For the security.
Yes, we need to prepare for these disasters. Madam Speaker, I wish to remind you, last year, the former State Minister for Disaster Preparedness promised this House that
told this House in a report, a statement, that Cabinet was reviewing a disaster plan. Can we know how far the disaster preparedness plan? Because preparing for disaster is more important than responding. It is costly to respond. Now we have to spare money for bridges, for giving people food, for doing everything. Can we plan? Can we know the state in which that disaster plan has reached at the level of Cabinet? Is it now ready to be used?
Thank you. The gardens are swept off. We are going to have a food shortage. The houses are swept off. People have nowhere to stay. The cows have been swept off and they have died. And human beings, the roads cannot be passed. I cannot personally even reach my home where I don't need a visa.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I have two issues. One, the issue of bridges, and then the issue raised by Honourable Jonathan. Right Honourable, this comes in at the right time of budgeting. I think it is very important that we ring fence this money specifically for ferries if we want to solve this matter. And then subsequently hold the people responsible to have these ferries within specific time. And that would address our issue. Two, Right Honourable Speaker, the issue of climate change is real world over. We have been following what happened in Dubai and the other parts of the world that affected almost everyone equally. Passengers all over the world coming to a standstill. And we are not an exception as a country. And accordingly, we must respond to those challenges. And I want to propose, Right Honourable Speaker, that the Ministry for Disaster Preparedness, Relief and Refugees be given a vote, an independent vote, from the general vote of Prime Minister's office. And this would give us specific attention to hold them accountable and scrutinize their planning processes and how they intend to respond to the situations that happen in this country. My worry is that if we leave it lump summed in Prime Minister's office, it becomes amorphous as it has been. And subsequently, yes, even when they want to respond like they have been doing, they do not respond to the speed and the magnitude of the challenges that ourselves and our people face. So it is my humble prayer, Honourable Speaker and Honourable colleagues, that we consider making that ministry a self-accounting with an accounting officer that we can hold accountable to a smaller size of work, and then we are able to follow up as Parliament, but also as a country. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. So that we don't continue relying on the main vote. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With all the discussion that has been made, Madam Speaker, my simple request through you, why can't we task the Right Honourable Prime Minister to coordinate her ministries, the one in charge of environment, to give us an update on the forecast, the weather forecast, coordinate the Ministry of Finance to tell us the status of our contingency fund, just in case the weather continues in the way it is.
Can we have the shadow?
And lastly, Madam Speaker.
No, she's more knowledgeable in that thing.
Okay.
Very knowledgeable and passionate about
Thank you
environment.
for giving way. Right Honourable Speaker, the forecast is already with us. It has been projected that it is going to rain up to end of June. And now, the preparedness that we want government to come to, that is why we were refusing the money allocated to Mr. Magola. The money that would address the disasters currently now is the preparedness we are looking out for. What we can do now is rainwater harvesting, preparedness in that. Everybody to prepare where to store this water. The other one is desiltation of dams and the rivers. That is the preparedness we want now. All tractors should be seen.
Are you listening, Enos?
excavators should be seen now to desilt dams and all water channels where all these drainages go, especially around the lake shore. And then the other one is the resilience. Whoever is constructing any road, we have just been given the balance of 500 million on the road fund. Every construction should be cognizant of climate change, and the supervision should be able to show us how what they are constructing is resilient to flooding. Otherwise, we wish all ourselves well. The rains are going to come till end of June.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Have you got the information?
No, Madam Speaker, my argument, yes, thank you so much, the alternate minister, but my argument was that we should put the Prime Minister to task to tell us how ready or prepared the government is to counter what she's telling us.
It is not ready because...
Then, how best can we put them to task?
Listen, it is not ready. My people will not be sleeping out. We don't have where to stay. You find, and to show you that it is not ready, you ask the chair of infrastructure. We are building in what? Trenches, not even wetland. Trenches, we are building in trenches. How ready are we? If you can build in a trench that even a blind person can see that this is a trench, and you put a house, you put a mall in that trench, how ready are we?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. The issue of floods in Uganda, we have spoken about it for a very long time in this House. My experience from the 10th Parliament up to today.
And I want that report of the trenches, where people are building on trenches.
My experience from the 10th Parliament up to now is that whenever we enter rainy season, we talk about issues of floods, climate change, disasters. But when the money comes, we forget about allocating money for addressing those disasters. The last time the level of Lake Victoria rose to 14.3 meters was in 1964. And we have attained it this year again. The level is the same. And between the level of Lake Victoria to the highest peak in Kampala is only 124 meters. And what is helping us here is because we have wetlands in Port Bell area, Lozira area, that are preventing the water from coming this way. So for us, I stated it in this House that we need disaster preparedness. If this Parliament House is flooding because of rainwater, we block the rainwater. If your compound is getting flooded because of water from the roadside, you block it. That is disaster preparedness. Don't wait for disasters. I stated in this House that for how long are we going to buy blankets, saucepans, rice, and mabati to stop disasters? So the best thing we need to do is to allocate money to the Office of the Prime Minister, especially the Minister for Disaster. And if you look at the budget now, you have forgotten allocating enough money for climate change department. These are the people who should be working to prevent disasters in this country. Thank you very much.
We need to come out with a clear recommendation to government to take clear actions on the matter. For example, we've talked about the bridge. The issue of a ferry, very critical. But the costs are going to go up. And I think that I've talked to a few business people who do exports to South Sudan. Going through the park and you are charged and it's a longer distance will result into the high cost of doing business. So government should be able to pronounce itself and waive off, for example, those costs so that people are not charged. But secondly, Right Honourable Speaker, the Ministry in charge of roads, really we need answers. We've been talking about disasters, but Right Honourable Speaker, this morning I received a call from one of the airlines that flies into Kisoro. And we appropriated money for that airstrip to be rehabilitated. It's been closed. We are entering into high tourist season. The airport cannot function, airstrip. We do not have timelines for people. Finally, before I take in the information, we've talked about the flooding. Right, Honorable Speaker, if you go to the lake shores on Lake Victoria, after it has rained, you will be shocked to see the amount of plastics that come down to the lake. So this, I agree with Honorable Christine, the silting we are talking about, but there's an issue of plastics in this country that are blocking the drainage systems, and when you go down to the lakeside, you can really see that we are messing ourselves up, and I think something needs to be done with respect to the aspects of environment.
Some of us, we are going even to fail accessing our homes. The swamps are full. I cannot access my home from Chitenga. I cannot access my home from Mitiana. And if I cannot access my home as a member of Parliament, what of our voters? Madam Speaker, we need to wake up. We have a lot of challenges as far as roads are concerned. And Madam Speaker, to summarize it, we need a clear statement of how these issues are going to be handled. This business of us coming here and we discuss issues and we leave them here, it looks awkward. On Saturday it rained from Friday through Saturday up to Sunday. Just imagine if it remains the same for the next 2 weeks. What will happen in Uganda? Madam Speaker, we need to wake up and let's get a clear statement from the the minister that is responsible, if possible, if even the Prime Minister should come up and revise whatever statement gives us here. Because committing ourselves before our voters and we fail to do what exactly we are supposed to do, it looks very awkward. There is no reason why we should sit here and we discuss on behalf of our people and people are just crying. They just want to write. What should we do? There's a lot of pressure on ground.
Honorable members, when you look at the deterioration of all these roads, it's going to have a significant impact on the economy. The cost of the goods are going to reduce. The cost of transportation is going to increase. The tourism, people are now not going to go into tourism. So what we are going to get out of tourism will also reduce. And at the end of the day, the productivity is reduced, because if you hear they are saying the gardens and whichever have been washed. And I would also implore our government to deploy security on all the alternative routes that have been created, because the highway robbers can take advantage of this. They must be saying now we have them. So you need to make sure you have security on all these alternative routes. And then it is a budgeting time. And since it is a budgeting time, instead of bundling all the monies in one account, let this parliament decide and say this is the money for disaster preparedness. And this money should be used for ABCD. And there should be a plan for disaster preparedness.